Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, or good day wherever you are in the world, and welcome to the next episode of No Dice, No Glory. Sponsored by our jobs that actually pay us money, we're coming to you not at all live from an abandoned arms factory deep under a mountain in West Virginia. We are proud to proffer to you the finest in wargaming coverage. Without any further ado, let's get this show on the road.
Thank you for that kind introduction. This is episode 21 of Tales of the Sale. We have our three regular podcasters, but we're also joined by a special guest, so I'm going to let people go kind of around the horn and introduce themselves. We have Glenn, Gentleman Farmer Van Meter.
Hello, everybody. Good to see you all again.
We have Tyler, Late Dinner Maker Stone.
Hey, everybody.
And we have a man who I don't want to give a nickname because he's too cool for that. Is Mike Tunez. So Mike, say hi.
That's true. How's it going, guys?
So this is an episode where we're gonna lean heavily on Mike as the Generalissimo of Firelock Games. Is that the title that you and Rufus worked out, or is it different?
There was definitely there was no working out. It was just said by Rufus, and then you remembered it. And that was the end of it.
Well, I'm glad. Rufus is a creative guy. All right, so we're gonna go around, tell people what we've been up to. We're gonna close off with Mike because Mike obviously has the most stuff going on since none of the three of us run our own gaming company. It's been a month for Tom Cherborn Mullane here because there's a new TikTok trend at the high school. It's called Devious Licks. I don't know if you know that, Mike. Do you know Devious Licks?
I was wondering what this was on the spreadsheet.
So Devious Licks is it's all the cool kids are doing it. Obviously, I know I'm cool, so I know what that sounds like and what it looks like. So the trend is to steal stuff, like from the school and then bring it home. Like, I don't know, sinks, pencils, staplers. But the most recent thing that they all decided they were going to steal was soap dispensers from a school during a pandemic.
Yeah, that makes sense.
No.
Which makes lots of sense. So apparently next month's TikTok challenge that's trending up here in the New England area is slap a teacher. So don't try it because it's not going to end well for you. Because those of you who are just listening from home, I'm 6'1" and I have great reaction time thanks to decades of playing video games. So if a kid thinks he's going to get the drop on me, this is my moment to shine.
And that's how we go down to just Glenn and Tyler because Tom's spending 6 months in jail.
Tom goes to jail
for assaulting a student.
Tom goes to jail. But no, I don't think they're going to get me, but I don't know. I'm a pretty accommodating guy. I've had students saran wrap my car at one point. I had them paint all sorts of great stuff on it, and I never batted an eyelash. I just don't feel like.
What you're saying is that if there was a teacher that was going to get slapped and a kid felt like they could get away with it, it would be you.
Yeah, I guess. So I'm here to kind of disabuse them of that notion right now
because they're definitely listening.
Yeah, well, there's definitely a few of them that do, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Like, there's as soon as kids learn that they're like, "Wait, you record a podcast?" and I'm like, "Don't look for it unless you know how to play this game, because unless you know how to play Blood and Plunder or Oak and Iron, it's not going to make a lot of sense to you." And they didn't care, and they listened to it anyway. So, we did get to start the gaming club for kids. I ran a demo of Blood and Plunder on the first day for the military history kids. And I'm also going to be... So the gaming club has started up again in person this year, which is awesome. And we had 75 kids show up to our first meeting in the library.
That's pretty
awesome. 30 of them were there to play Dungeons & Dragons. 30 of them were there to play a variety of board games, and a whole ton of them signed up to learn different tabletop games. And since I have enough Blood and Plunder stuff to be able to run like 2 boards at this point, I set it up and I started to walk them through how the rules go. You guys have good videos up as well, so that's like super helpful. put links to that on our club page. The
Yeah,
kids
we do
started
gotta
our
update those.
Discord. Yeah, they need to update them, but they're perfect for, walking yourself through it if you're stuck at home and you don't have somebody like me to teach you how to do it. So it's looking to be a pretty good year gaming wise at the high school. So I'm excited to teach some new kids the game. I still have a bunch of terrain and paints from the Historical Miniature Gaming Society folks, because they gave me a grant a couple of years ago, and I was able to talk to the kids and ask them what they wanted to buy, and so they brought in a ton of stuff. So that's what I've been up to. So Tyler, we'll turn it over to you. Tell us what you've been doing game wise.
I was going to say, first of all, if you want to dissuade them from slapping you, I had a teacher that always said he's allowed to hit a student once, then he's going to jail. So that one hit, he's getting his money worth.
It's a good argument.
So
I will briefly say, just to interrupt you with this story. There was one student who was the son of a colleague of mine who was just annoying the pants off me like for the entire year. And I went to his mom and asked for permission. And I said, hey, look, when he graduates, can I slap him? And she said, oh, yes, please. I want that to happen. And we made it happen. The family was all laughing as they took a picture of me. I didn't hit him that hard, and he had graduated, so I didn't technically slap a student.
You should bring
again,
that
but I don't want to be
up.
slapped.
Just be like, it wouldn't be the first time I strike a student if somebody were to strike.
Just leave it hanging out there like a meatball, and be like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, yes, man.
Kind of like I get to say, "Hey, I've run a man over before, and I got away with it."
I may not look like it, but I'm a man familiar with violence. And I adjust my glasses. Anyway, Tyler, I'm sorry. go
no,
ahead.
I was willing to cede plenty of time because the only thing filling my to-do board right now is the 2x2 demo board that I was working on. It needs to be done like real quick so that I can take it to this convention, and I'm not really leaving myself time for sorting
You have
out
plenty
any
of time. You'll
errors
be
or
fine.
flaws. Oh yeah.
Is this the
no.
one you were building with Preston Jaka?
It
or
was. I was
no?
trying to avoid mentioning him since he shows up in every podcast. But since you did that,
Oh,
he was
sorry.
sending me pictures of his, and he'll probably put it on the Blood and Plunder page when it's done. If he doesn't,
His looks
we'll
awesome.
do it.
He sent me.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did a nice job. I didn't mean to bring him up. I think his name's kind of like Beetlejuice. If you mention him 3 times, he'll show up. So
He'll just chastise us in the Paint Nights for mentioning
actually
him in
asked me if
every
I wanted to-
podcast.
He asked if I wanted to paint tonight. I was like, "No, we're recording. Can't."
if you hear a beep in the background, folks, that's just Preston joining us so he can listen to us do this while he's finishing up
Well, he
his
paints.
display board.
He's
So,
at
like,
the point of
what's-
adding flora and fauna to the board.
Ooh.
Yeah, he's gonna do a resin pour for the water, which is something that I planned on doing, but he's actually going to do it, before the second coming. Whereas I am still like waiting around, and maybe one of these days I'll feel like going down into the basement, covering it in torn up pieces of styrofoam and all of that, so that I can sculpt mold the ground form. Right now it's just packing foam, and I intend to cover that over with Sculptamold so that I won't have to deal with all the little styrofoam beads and cheap packing foam. I didn't use insulation foam.
Interesting.
Okay.
In an attempt to keep weight and cost down a little bit. I have an insulation foam base.
You can seal it with a mix of like the Mod Podge and paint, because like that sealant will hold it, and it shouldn't be a problem after that.
anyone has
Regardless of what
watched-
styrofoam you used.
Yeah, if anyone has watched Luke APS, he does all of the geek gaming stuff, which his scenery range is awesome. It's all ground flocks and quick drying glues. But he has a really good YouTube channel, and almost all of his board builds use a cheap, I don't know what it's technically called, but it's the styrofoam that you get in like TV boxes that if you break it,
Yeah.
you get all those little balls everywhere. He uses that almost exclusively because weight and cost. And once you start covering it over with all of the glue and flock and
It gets heavy fast.
stuffy, Yeah, and it covers up the fact that it's foam and it's still pretty durable. So
Yeah, I've used that stuff in the past. I have not had good luck with it because here in South Florida, insulation foam is actually pretty hard to come by because we don't need it. So you can't just go to the hardware store and get it. You gotta get it from like a hobby store or something. So it's more expensive as well because they sell it for hobby stuff.
Oh, I can
Um,
tell you right now, up here, apparently it's hard to come by because I went to Home Depot looking for some the other day, and there was none at all.
Yeah.
Wow,
Well, that's just the
really?
nature of the world right now. You can't get anything.
Yeah.
Everything is difficult.
Well, I've been slowly hoarding it like, a pack rat from a movie. So every time I need it, I'm like, oh, yeah, hey, look at that. I hid that there. Oh, look at that giant sheet I grabbed. So I use all the pink foam. The I think XPS is what it's called. But
Yeah.
um, I bought a bunch of it to insulate my attic, and I had a surplus. So I've been using it. It holds its shape really well. It's easy to cut. Yeah, I know that not everybody has access to that in their area, but that's like my go-to.
That's the one we do have.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
they sell it in 2x2 sheets.
What?
Yeah.
that's Home Depot does that here. They sell them as it's like a project board, but it's basically a
Right.
pre-cut 2 foot by 2 foot sheet of that foam. And that's what I used for the first layer. And then I used EPS foam, the white stuff, for everything above that.
Okay, EPS is what it's called, right? And then the XPS is the pink one.
Yeah, XPS is the pink stuff.
It's funny. It's like they sell it in a little sample size. It's like they know that I'm using it to make like, Pirate Cove. But I still remember like one time I bought a bunch of those sheets, and then I got all these carpet samples because I was using them to make like crops at like 15 millimeter scale, and they don't cost anything. They're free, but they have to scan them all out. And I didn't know that. I was prepared to like pay for all these carpet samples. And the woman just starts like looking, like staring at me dead in the eyes while you're like, beep, beep, beep. And I just told her, I'm like, I'm gonna make that carpet. I'm gonna make it one square at a time. Cause you gotta lean into it at that point.
Yeah, just own it. Gotta own
Going
it.
for the plaid look in my living room.
Yeah, just once, as long as you just take your time, glue it all together, you have carpet. You have a carpet for free.
Yep, that you do.
I think there's a Johnny Cash song about that.
Oh yeah, the guy that builds the car by taking one part out of the factory one piece at a time.
Oh
Yes.
yeah, you're right. Good
It's
call,
called
bud.
One Piece at a
Love me some
Time.
Johnny
Yes.
Cash.
I was
Yep.
Nice.
gonna leave it alluding to carpets, but thank you, Tyler.
It's a good song. Everybody should take things home from the factory. Anyway, moving on. Glenn, what have you been up to?
Oh my gosh. Well, this month, I spent a lot of time prepping to go to BarageCon, which I did with, again, friend of the show, Preston Jacka. And we ran demos, and I was caught off guard because Barrage had a few, like, there were fewer people there than normal, but they all signed up to do Blood and Plunder demos, so we were swamped the entire time. We actually had people showing up like hours early to do demos because we had like set times in the schedule, even though we were just going to have everything set up and running all day. And yeah, we ran more than a dozen people through several
awesome.
demos. One person came back for consecutive rounds because it was the end of the day and they just wanted to play more. Yeah, so that was a lot of fun, and a lot of people are looking forward to the Kickstarter. Some of the guys already ordered the Kickstarter and are just waiting on it so they can get started.
They're just making sure they didn't make a mistake. That's what they're doing.
Yeah, something like that. But almost all of them were new. Like, I hadn't met them before as members of the community.
That's going to be my first question: is
yeah,
if it
good
was
sign.
just the Hawks guys, or if it was a bunch of new faces down there.
One of them was a Hawks guy that I didn't recognize. Another Hawks guy came up and did a quick video recording of the booth, and I talked about it a little bit, but it was just a quick, like, 30-second thing. But everybody was very impressed with all of the minis, and the ships obviously catch the eye. So I actually had Preston set up a French versus Spanish game on one side of the table, on like a coastline with a little port and ships that just look nice. We had I want to say it was like French pirate or French brethren against Spanish on a bark. Tartana versus Bark on a sea game, so people could see the sea rules. And then I had used all of my Braves and the Canadian militia that I had finished painting, etc., to do a North American game for people who were interested in using Blood and Plunder, but doing French and Indian War stuff with it. Because I know the Barrage group on the whole used to be really into Muskets and Tomahawks back when first edition of that came out. So a bunch of them were excited to see that another game had that time period as an option.
There's definitely a bunch of people up here in the Northeast that are psyched for the expansion to come out because they know that they have access to like the Braves and stuff like that. Like that's what Miguel Vega has collected. I think Rufus has painted a ton of his stuff, and Rufus is a good painter. He has all of his North American tribes and stuff like that, and they look great.
Rufus is all right. It's all right. Good. It's a fine tabletop standard.
He misled me on how easy it is to paint oak and iron ships. Tell you that. So I was actually really worried because the first demo I ran was the North American Braves against the Canadian militia. And the Braves, it was mostly Braves with some young Braves in support, and then it was 2 units of militia with some infantry in support. And it was a one-sided fight. And it must have been the dice, but the Braves rolled over and killed the entire Canadian force to the loss of 3 Braves.
Sounds like the game I was playing in. Maybe my spirit was somehow there.
What's funny,
but luckily the next mission, the Braves just ate it. So I was like,
we ran a similar game, but against North American English, and it was a nail biter, neck and neck. It went well, but
yeah, the Canadians got their revenge. The Canadians got their revenge, but at first I was just like, "Oh man, are these like horribly out of balance?" And I didn't realize it.
The dice gods prove that the law of averages will hold true eventually.
Exactly.
Eventually, sometimes in a different game.
For different people, yeah. But aside from that, it's been BattleTech because that's the other giant thing going on in the hobby world right now.
Mm-hmm. The amount of people jumping back into BattleTech is pretty astounding.
It was kind of crazy seeing people selling some of their Kickstarter stuff online for like more money than they paid for it. It's me and Glenn were laughing at that. And but I know Mike has some stuff on his table to paint because we were talking about that before we started recording today.
My buddy sold a few pieces for like 400% profit, and it's all coming out at retail later, like at the end of the year, or early next year. So his plan is to just pocket the difference and just rebuy the same sets later.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
No, it's not.
Really, I just wish I'd have thought of that idea before I unpacked all my stuff.
Yeah, right. Well, I did a lot of trades for stuff, so I kind of got what I needed. And I have way too much stuff on my plate to be selling stuff online. It's like another business. But it is not a bad idea if you have the time for it, because especially if you got, it's a Kickstarter. So if you're doing a Kickstarter right, you're basically buying as much as you can afford without ruining your life. And then, or at least not completely ruining your life, I should say.
Well, that's what I did with Braze the Black. So that
exactly.
makes me feel better. It makes me feel like I did
totally
what I was supposed to do.
That was totally a marketing statement there. But the as if you have a ton of stuff and it's going to take you forever to paint it all, and there's people clamoring for it, I sell it and buy it again later, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
I do wish that I had bought a few more of the Kickstarter exclusive Legendary pack, but oh well. Anyways,
Well,
Mike, what have
all this
what have
brings
you
us
been
to
up
Mike,
to?
yeah.
Yeah, can't talk
What?
about BattleTech too much on the Firelock podcast.
No, of course not. But so what have I been up to? Well, lots of stuff. Mainly just trying to navigate this new crazy world we live in. Um, it's a heck of a time to be running international business. I'll tell you that. But that said, as far as hobby stuff is concerned, um, I have been building a lot of plastic miniatures, trying to make sure everything is going together the way it needs to, and um, trying to decide how we're going to do the instructions and all those little bits of details that are super important. And that's it's my hobby time has been putting together plastics from sprues and for Blood and Plunder, and whenever I can, painting some BattleTech stuff. So tonight I'm painting some BattleTech stuff while we're doing this because I feel like if I'm doubling down on Blood and Plunder, it makes it too much like work. So I don't want to get into work mode and bore everybody.
So we definitely want to get some of the kind of dirt from your end of the spectrum in terms of like how has Firelock been coping with COVID in general? Like, have you guys been able to maintain stocks? Are you still being able to ship out orders? Just to kind of keep people posted on that.
Yeah, so it's a roller coaster. I'll tell you that. I excuse me. I think I went to a con this weekend and I got a little bit of con crud, but thankfully it's no COVID, just a little cough and sore throat. That was it. But that lingering cough is killing me. I've had to mute myself several times already. But back to the question. Thankfully, it seems like the game continues to grow. We see lots of new people coming on board. I think a lot of people just don't want to wait for their Kickstarter stuff, and they're just jumping in, maybe. But we, especially on the retailer side, a lot of stores and distributors have really been upping their orders. I know Alliance for a while didn't have a lot of our stuff. I think I don't know, maybe it took them a little while to recover from their pandemic state, but suddenly they've been jumping up on their orders and such. So it's been a roller coaster, but we're doing okay. We're doing good. I know there's a lot of other people who aren't doing so good, so I'm thankful that that we're not among that number. Our biggest thing right now is just we got our heads down trying to get everything for the Kickstarter out. There's just tons of delays and obstacles and stuff for getting everything done that are totally out of our control and very frustrating. But overall, I'm assured that our current date should still be good. As things start to just kind of adapt, not so much go back to normal, but adapt and change, because it seems like that's what's happening a lot in this industry, and I'm sure in lots of other industries, is that things are changing. I suspect Chinese manufacturing for games is going to become there's going to be a lot of competition for that. I've seen a lot of things starting to open up here in the States, in Eastern Europe, even in places like Germany and the UK. So, I think it's going to be an interesting few years coming up to see where things end up landing. But metal is another. Metal and resin, the two main things we make all our miniatures of currently. Resin is really hard to get right now. There's a urethane shortage. So we have to order way in advance. The price has gone way up. The companies that we work for kind of have they just kind of cut all of our discounts. So we have to pay like what a person off the street would pay if they're buying like a little pint to make their own stuff, So
oh wow.
So we've had to switch resin providers. We basically got somebody who's using the exact same formula, so you won't even see a change, a detectable one, unless you're a chemist maybe. But and metal is, so we had to go ahead and break your heart a little bit here, Glenn. We have
Oh.
a big North American project that's been in the works, covering primarily King Philip's War. We have a sculpt of King Philip. We're gonna make basically King Philip and Benjamin Church into legendary characters. We got sculpts for those. We got sculpts for Niases. We got sculpts for Young Braves, and those were all ready to get fire started. But the price of metal is just so absurdly high right now. We're looking for alternatives. So there is a possibility that in the near future, if something doesn't change, that we may slowly start to phase out the metal for some other material. More than likely, some of the new injection molded resin plastics that a lot of people are doing, such as like you'll see Warlord and Battlefront. A lot of them are really nice. The models, the quality's good. I haven't experimented with enough yet, so I'm not saying I'm going to go with anything like that for sure. But if the base, just to put it into perspective, the price has gone up from when we started out. The price has gone up like 115%.
Wow.
Wait,
Ouch.
no, I don't even
Yeah.
think that's right. Is it 115%? I think it might be. So
115 would be doubling.
Yeah. So,
So,
it's
Mike,
more than double. Yeah, it's about right. It might be more like 120, but yeah, something around there.
So kind of like follow-up question for
Uh-huh.
for the education of people that are like not as familiar with the processes for miniature gaming producers in the States. Like, where do you produce your minis? And like, or does it depend on which line we're talking about? Because I know that some stuff you
Right.
do in-house and other stuff I think that you farm it out. But like, so where do your minis come from before they get to you and you ship them out?
Right, good question. I'm of course talking like everybody knows exactly what we got going on. Yeah, so all of our metal and resin is made in house. We have our own. We have a warehouse where we manufacture everything, and we create. The only thing we don't do is we don't create our master molds. Those are done outside, but everything else is done in house. All the production. The oak and iron is made. Oak and iron and scurvy dice is all Chinese manufacturing, and thankfully, it was hell to get oak and iron back in stock. So once we did, we got it just at the right time, because after that is when it was very expensive to ship. We thought it was pretty astronomical, but it got way worse after that. So we sort of dodged the bullet on that one. But that is made. So those are made in China, and then they're shipped to us kind of complete and boxed, and we just kind of turn them around, which is nice because it doesn't affect our manufacturing of our in-house stuff. Which is always a good thing. I like having the ability to do some in-house manufacturing, because it's, no matter what happens, it's something we can always fall back to, and it's there. And that was kind of the thinking with metal until it became, we had to raise our prices for those who haven't noticed earlier this year, and we've already the price has gone up so high and so fast that we've already outpaced that price raise. So. We kind of, I don't want to obviously raise prices immediately again, because that would just be crazy. But it's tempting. I mean, we're doing okay enough that we could skate by without doing it right now. But the price on everything has just gone up so high that it's tough. You have to be adapting almost on a weekly basis, and you never know what's going to jump up next. So it's been a really challenging time to get stuff done, but thankfully, we've been able to turn around a lot of stuff in the back end. We've also got I think we have 6 oak and iron sculpts for new ships. We showed one off. We have a large galleon that we showed off at Huracan this past weekend. I don't know when this is airing, but for the weekend of I don't even know what day it is. The last weekend of September. So that's when we were there. We showed that off. Super nice. We've changed some of the aspects of the way we do those sculpts, and they're going to be way easier to paint, and they're going to come out a lot sharper and just be improved in general. Some good news on we do now have the access to make some stuff that we would typically get done in China here in the States. Unfortunately, it's not ready to turn on right now. But there's a lot of wheels turning to make that happen. And a lot of the stuff for this Kickstarter has been shifted over to the States, like the books and the cards and things like that, just to reduce the amount of stuff we've got to put on a boat from China to here, just to kind of help cover that cost. Because I'm sure you've seen, if you do a lot of Kickstarters are coming and asking their backers to throw in a little bit of extra, and to help cover the extra shipping that was totally unforeseen, which it was. Nobody saw that coming. So, but we're trying really, really hard to not have to do that. So we're trying to move things around and do things a little differently and think outside the box, so we can find some inventive ways to just kind of save where we can, if that makes sense. And streamline the whole process, and it's not really streamlining because it's more work on our end, but it's streamlining financially, because we don't have to. It's less stuff we got to put, less total pallets we got to get on a ship, which reduces the cost very significantly at this point.
I definitely don't think that anybody on here, or people who are listening, are saying to themselves, "Gosh, Mike should have known exactly what would happen with Chinese shipping containers and everything else." Yeah,
I'm sure somebody, at least
I'm sure there's one guy, somewhere in the middle of nowhere, is like, "Oh man, I predicted all this. How did Mike not know?" But you mentioned Huracan, so like Glenn and Tyler and I and a whole bunch of other folks are going to be heading to Historicon soon, and we haven't been to the convention, so, and you're going to be there too. But like, basically, how did Huracan go, and how has the convention scene been so far? Like, what have you guys been able to do this year?
That's it. That's what we've done so far this year.
That's it.
But it went pretty well. As is expected, there was a whole lot of hoopla about masks, no masks, and I think that turned a lot of people off to it from both sides of that argument. They ended up just basically their policy, which I think was smart, was the right decision to go. They just say, we're just going to do what the hotel makes us do, and then everybody else kind of makes their own choice. I think that's probably. I think they made a good call with that.
So what was?
Mm-hmm.
Can I just ask what was the hotel policy?
The hotel policy was essentially nothing, because this is Florida. So,
okay.
So there was no requirements. There was plenty of people wearing masks and such, but plenty of others not as well.
Okay, because when I went to Barrage and I wrote about this in the article I did for NDNG about Barrage, I felt that they treated it essentially like adults, where the convention, much like this one, defaulted to the local law, which is, there's no requirement for masks. However, the convention did strictly enforce that game masters could require masks at their tables.
Right. Which I see Historicon is doing as well.
Yeah.
Well, Historicon's flat out requiring masks.
Are they?
Yes, they are.
When I looked at the PEL, I saw that it says masked, yes or no.
We'll say
that's
for
what I've
anybody
been
who's
seeing
listening
as well.
that like these things tend to change so quickly that like it's very possible the information you're hearing on here about what Historicon and HMGS plans will change by the time this comes out. But based on what we've heard, they were requiring masks, but only in HMGS spaces. I think that's what Tyler was saying. Because it's the casino, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
So like I think in the casino the rules are different. So like if you go to the casino, I don't think it's required. But if you're in an HMGS space, they're requiring them. So yeah. By the way, this is very exciting for Glenn and Tyler and for Mike if Mike wants one. But my wife made pirate masks. There's like
nice.
It's like skull and crossbones and stuff. It's not something that Benderson Little would approve of because it's not.
You'd be surprised what Benderson Little will approve of. I'll tell you.
All
that.
right. Well, I'll have one for him.
Maybe not a historical approval.
It's not a historical crossbones and skull, but it's a cool looking crossbones and skull.
That sounds
You
awesome.
have to remember how often Anderson Little goes off about how great Captain Blood is, and he's
Mhm.
not wrong. But
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
got
it's-
a he's got a
his
cool
fantasy
project.
pirates, I think.
He's got a cool project about involving Captain Blood coming up. Probably, I think
gonna
it's next
ask-
year. So
Is that just because that was his first novel and therefore it's got all that nostalgia factor for him?
it's a
I
cool
think from
novel.
his books, his first novel, I think, was Treasure Island.
Oh, maybe you're right.
Yeah.
I read Captain Blood a little while ago and I loved it. It was
I thought it
great.
was great.
Yeah, and he's a big fan of the movie as well, with Errol Flynn and all of that.
But Mike, I would say, like, masks aside, like Historicon had, I'm sorry, Historicon, Huracan. How did it
Right.
go in terms of like numbers, in terms of like sales,
Numbers-
games played, stuff like that?
Our sales were a little lighter than usual, but a lot of our sales were Oak and Iron, which is typically a smaller buy-in and price point in general. So it's hard to gauge. It's a different thing. We have so many new things that we showed up with that we didn't have before that are different, like Blood and Valor, that and Scurvy Dice and other things like that, right? So these are things that hadn't got a lot of attention. Well, I don't think we even had them at one of those cons. Scurvy Dice we may have had at one, but I don't really recall, honestly. But numbers were a little less than usual. I've been going to that con since before Firelock, and it's always been fun. And I would say it's a little less than usual, but not a huge amount less. Like, I would say maybe it's, if I had to wager, I guess, I'd say it's 75 people less than normal, which for a con that typically gets maybe 350, 400, more or less, it's a lot. But there was a lot of games. You know, most of our games were filled up. And it was a good time. It just felt like, you know, any other time being at a con. Just a lot more
Cool.
people in masks. But that's about it.
20% loss, I would say, or at least 20% lighter sounds about on par with Barrage from my experience. So
Right. There's a
that's
lot of
what we're
people
looking
who
at.
signed up. Yeah, because sign up wise, a lot of people signed up, but then didn't end up showing up. A lot of people were, you know, exposed to COVID or just decided to err on the side of caution. It's a lot of older people. It's a lot of people with older family members as well, which is obviously a consideration for a lot of people. And so I think a lot of people who signed up didn't actually end up coming. So I think that was a significant factor.
So looking
Oh,
forward to November,
Mhm.
like, what are the plans for you guys for Historicon?
So our Historicon plans are to basically participate as much as possible in the awesome events that you guys have all put together. So, and for anybody who doesn't know, and I figured this would get plugged at some point, but why not talk about it now, right? So, you guys got the Iron Man going on, which is super
We
cool.
do.
You want to talk about the Iron Man since it's kind of I believe that's your brainchild, isn't it, Tom?
I'll take credit for Mitch's idea.
Yeah. Who's Mitch?
Yeah, it's not who's Mitch. I don't know who Mitch is. So basically, there's like a special prize that goes out to somebody who plays in all the events that we're running. And I'm looking through the show notes, which I realize is blasphemy. Mike was telling us he doesn't believe in show notes before we started
Well,
recording.
Are you looking?
I'm
for
sure
the
that I'm
days
certain
of the events?
I'm
Yeah,
certain
yeah,
they
yeah.
exist. I've heard people talking about them plenty. So
Yeah, do you have the days of the events, Tyler? Like, what's going down?
Historicon is running from November 11th to the 14th. I think they have it on their site as the 10th. Anyway, what we're doing, the 11th, the 14th. Thursday, the 11th, is going to be scenario play and practice. Friday is the Blood and Plunder and Blood and Valor tournament. So it'll be Blood and Plunder in the morning, Blood and Valor in the evening. And then on Saturday, we are doing Oak and Iron. And that will be in the evening on Saturday. So you'll have plenty of time to stop by the Firelock booth, buy whatever Oak and Iron ships you might need, because that is probably the easiest one to unbox, snap the ships together, and have a good-looking fleet in a hurry.
you can. In fact, our Oak and Iron game, is designed to be beginner friendly, since we know that there's a lot of people out there who have Oak and Iron and have not played it yet because of the pandemic, or people who have been eyeballing it. But again, pandemic or otherwise, it just prevented you from being able to try it. So you could buy. The cool thing is, you could go and you could buy a starter set 15 minutes before the tournament starts, and you'll be able to play in that tournament, and you'll learn it very well by the end of it. And it's going to be designed to be beginner friendly, obviously. So we'll have people there.
So they can
helping
stop
you.
with and buy it on Friday and be ready to play it on Saturday without much of a problem.
Exactly. And as
And if you
Mhm.
on Thursday, it says essentially we're just tagged for setup. I don't think we have anything actually planned on Thursday, so feel free to swing by, and we should be able to get some games in around the table. It's going to be pretty relaxed
yeah,
on Thursday.
Yeah, we had to reserve it as like a space because they didn't want to let us use the hall, I think, unless we had a tournament going. So we claimed
Correct.
events.
We're
status.
setting up.
We're setting up. Like there's
Definitely
stuff to
just
set up.
setting up.
There's stuff to set up. So there's a kernel of truth in that, I suppose. I won't be there Thursday, but I'll be there bright and early Friday morning. And I will point out that Friday is my 10th wedding anniversary, so I'm showing
Ooh.
some dedication here
wow,
by being down there.
yeah,
But
wow.
I do need to be. I'm having dinner on Thursday night, which is why I'm not going to be down there as early as I originally
Wait.
planned.
Really, Tom? Because I
Yeah.
have another friend whose 10th wedding anniversary is that weekend, and he's not coming.
Well, we already have something planned, but it's for December because we like booked stuff in advance for like a bed and breakfast and things like that. So
Wait, hold on.
we-
It's your 10th wedding anniversary. You go on the 12th of November?
correct.
You didn't go
Yes.
for the 11, 11, 11, 11, 11, 11 thing?
No. So when we got when we got married, 2011, we didn't care about that at all. But apparently, some couples cared so much about it that every venue was booked. One venue said, "Oh yeah, somebody booked that date 5 years ago. They weren't even engaged because they just
Just in
wanted
case.
the date." And then I think that they had since broken up. Like they never actually got married.
That's hilarious.
Which is hilarious. So yeah, we got 11, 12, 11. We did not get 11, 11, 11.
Wow.
Wow.
I didn't realize that was such a big deal.
Yeah.
I
It's easier to
remember.
remember, I guess, like for people that apparently can't remember
Yeah.
when they got married, which isn't a problem for me. I did forget my wife's birthday once, but
It's a problem.
that I lived to regret that deeply.
I'm sure. I'm certain they did.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
do we have any insight as to what this special additional prize is?
The Iron Man?
Yeah, for
Who's
the
that,
Iron Man.
who's that,
Because
who's that
allegedly,
question for? That's a real question.
It's for the
yeah.
group.
'Cause allegedly, everybody participating in the Iron Man is getting something,
Yep.
but then the winners will get obviously something else as the Iron Man champions.
That's right.
So, is it still a question that the great nebulous they have not answered?
That's basically accurate, yes.
Cool.
Oh, okay.
So the suspense will continue.
Because I have some things that I could maybe do, but I don't know if I could pull it off. So
All right.
I'm trying to see. Trying to see.
But there will be something cool. We just don't know what it is yet.
Probably.
All right.
Cool.
Super
subjective.
limited edition Mike Tunez miniatures.
Yeah. Or a Preston Jacka bobblehead.
That would be great.
Oh my god, I
You
would
just-
totally have this made.
If you just sculpt a beard on the current pilot miniature, I'm pretty sure it's Mike.
Yeah, that's fair. It looks like him, doesn't it? It really does.
Yeah.
I guess it could be.
So if you haven't signed up for stuff and you're planning on going to Historicon, we'd love to see you. We'll give it a final plug at the end. But moving through all the stuff we want to pick Mike's brain about. You mentioned that you think the Kickstarter is going to be, so far the date you quoted is probably still good, but we know that that's contingent on a bunch of stuff that's out of
It
your
should
control.
still be
So
good, but the world is just
it is a
so
mess.
recklessly a mess.
So what is the
That
current
I have
guess?
my confidence in that is I'm not going to say it's not high because these guys we've been doing a lot of work, and everything is the only thing that's a little behind right now is the molds. But from what they tell me, these guys are used to doing a lot of stuff. Like these guys have done work with, big boys like GW and a whole bunch of others. So they're used to pumping out massive numbers of stuff. And they told me that, basically our project for them is like a week to run it and get it out. So they're not super concerned about the delays in the molds, and it of course makes sense to take our time and make sure the molds are done properly and there's no issues. We've really crossed our T's and dotted our I's on every single little detail. So it seems like it's going well. Like we talk several times a week and go over details and look at stuff and look at images and look at videos and get on conference calls and share screens and look over models and all that stuff. So it's not like they're just sitting around working on their project. We're actively, things are actively happening on it. So anytime that's the case, like there was a point at Okanagan where that wasn't the case, and I just sent the emails like, "Hey, what's going on? Like where's the vat?" And they're just like, "Yeah, we'll have something soon." So it's a different experience. So I feel, and that wasn't terribly late, I suppose, for what it was, considering that the communication was not what I wanted it to be, and they definitely kind of backburnered us a bit. So, it's I'm feeling confident. I would say I'm like 80% confident in those dates, but the world shakes the state of the world shakes my confidence that 20%.
So as dawn rises in October here, so that date would be what right now, based on what you know?
It's no specific date, but sometime we should start shipping sometime in January.
Okay.
And the biggest part of that 20% confusion or potential problems is that because the ship is not totally cut yet, we cannot get a reasonably accurate shipping quote.
Okay.
Because they need to have, because the primary thing getting shipped is the starter sets, which have the ship in it, obviously. So we just kind of have ballpark ideas right now on all the shipping, and we've got a couple companies that we're talking to, and based on those final numbers, which will be at the end of October, when the pledge manager closes, and we'll have everything set in stone. That's when we'll get the final quote, and then we'll know. So in November, if we're going to be late, you'll hear. If we're going to be any later, you'll hear an announcement probably on that in late November. But I
Will
don't
it be
think so.
because you're yelling it from Florida loud enough in frustration that we all just hear it? Or
Yeah, probably. It's not untrue. I mean, I'm going to be so annoyed because, man, it's just this project has been so. It's not so much the project itself, just everything surrounding it is just constantly trying to topple it and destroy it. We had our sculptor who got very sick for a long time. He's doing great now, by the way, I should say. Thank God. So,
Very good.
So he's kind of back on board 100%. He just got cleared to get vaccinated, so that's good. So he's getting vaccinated. We got we're having a flu outbreak in Florida, by the way, which is interesting. Like actual old fashioned flu. I'm not poking fun at COVID. So apparently he's they had him get a flu shot. So they were more concerned with that than COVID for him, basically. But he was on an RNA treatment for an experimental RNA treatment for his condition. So they didn't want to give him the COVID vaccine just yet, till they knew how, so they can kind of look into a little more and see how the two would react to each other. But he's all clear on that now. So he's far enough along that they're letting him. He just got his first jab. I think it was on Friday. So things are looking up with that. But just some of them not so little, like that one. A lot of these little things that just pecked away at this project, because the original plan for this project was to launch it in the late spring, early summer of 2020, and we had everything kind of set for that, and then everything that could go wrong did.
But it looks like it's still going to get done, and that's an accomplishment.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it took a lot of work.
It is. It did. It did take a lot of work. It is getting done. It's coming out great. I mean, I really think that once this thing is out, however long it takes, if it takes, if this thing, knock on wood, because let me not even say anything crazy because this is not time to throw crazy things in the air. But let's just say if this took way longer than I could ever imagine it taking, but it makes it out. People get to it. The world is still here, basically. The gist of where if the world still has an economy where people can buy things and not be begging for table scraps, then this is going to be a thing that I think will really that'll really grow the game dramatically, because I think it just puts us in the running with a lot of the bigger games, and the plastic is just so much easier and accessible and customizable. And I know a lot of people love their metals and all that, but I don't know how reasonable. I always plan on keeping metal forever. The metal's easy for us. It's not a big deal. We could always do cool stuff to supplement the plastics, but that was, before everything. So metal, if you like metal, buy it now. I'll tell you that. Metal is so expensive right now that we haven't even, just because I don't want to spend the outrageous amount of money they're asking for it. We've just been kind of melting stuff occasionally and just respinning it to something else we need, because it's just, it's just astronomically expensive to buy metal right now. So it's just so frustrating to finally have some good momentum. We got our sculptor back and kicking and doing awesome stuff and just cranking out new stuff, and we could be having monthly releases right now. If only we could, if the world was a little more stable. Which is super frustrating. But because all his work for Raise the Black is totally done. It's pretty much just me and a handful of editors and playtesters and contributors just working on stuff. But in house, it's just me. Well, I guess Lily as well, obviously, with the graphics and layouts and stuff. And if she has to change anything from the editing and whatnot, but we have all of our other resources freed up. I mean, you've seen the World War II RPG and the Under the Black Sea RPG that Tim's working on and that Gabe is working on the other one. So I don't even I almost forgot to mention those things because they're so off my radar, because I literally don't even deal with those at all. I played one of them.
Right before you said them, I was just typing them into the show notes to ask.
I got to play each one once and give some feedback and help in that develop. But that's as far as it's gone for me, because I'm 110% focused on Blood and Plunder, Oak and Iron, and I guess a little bit of it that goes to Blood and Valor as well, as we do some stuff. But that's mostly Rufus, really. I just call Rufus once in a while and yell at him and tell him to hurry up and finish his book. So, but
speaking of, those are almost out, right?
What's those?
B.O.V. the Rufus's book.
Oh, the book? Yeah. He's been. I'm gonna finish any day now since the day I met him. But he really. It's almost done. It's just the thing is, it's just such a monumental. It's like a No Peace Beyond the Line. It's just got a ton of stuff. It's just gonna add so much to the game that it's got to all get tested. It takes a tremendous amount of time. So
he did just put. For those who are in the playtesting group, I think he did just put out the rules for the Imperial Russians.
We put those out publicly, actually. That's kind of a teaser.
Okay.
And that's also Phalanx Consortium put out their minis for those, and they're actually not metal, by the way. They are a resin, a 3D printed resin, and they're spectacular. It's another potential thing. We're kind of watching and seeing how people react to those models, because I think I was blown away by how good they are. I cannot, at this point, I've been trying to look at 3D printing as an option for small scale manufacturing stuff, like, fire starters and things like that. But I could not replicate his results. So maybe we might go out of house and see if he does some of those for the natives and such. I mean, I don't know. I got to find some way to get them out, because they're sculpted, they're done. Joseph Forrester and Liam Taylor have been working on an expansion book to go with it as well, to cover a whole bunch of stuff in the interim period, especially now that Raise the Black has been pushed back a bit. So it's all that stuff is there, waiting in the wings. Now we just got to find a way to deliver on it. So,
I think Liam Taylor is one of the guys that I wound up shipping a prize to during the because he's up in Canada, right? Am I wrong?
no, he's in
No,
the
he's in
UK.
England.
Okay, different Liam Taylor then.
Okay.
Yeah, there are multiple Liams who
Well, yeah.
are
Yes.
pretty engaged with the game, both of them.
The game does seem to attract Liams in
Track
general.
Liam's.
We have a lot of Liams in our.
Because there's also
customer list.
Liam down north towards Georgia.
I'm also not surprised that Joe Forrester is both running his blog, writing a book, and learning guitar all at the same time.
Well, I believe he plays a number of instruments. He's actually a. I don't know if I'm giving away too much personal information, but he's like an expert level musician.
Oh my gosh.
So
He needs to play
Is-
for us more during paint nights and stuff then.
he should. He should.
I thought he runs his own personal business, which is like a music
That-
tuning or
Pianos.
that kind of
That's
shop.
right. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Well,
we
I
don't-
wasn't
we
gonna.
need to, like-
I wasn't gonna put his private business out there, but since Glenn did,
Well, I don't know what it does exactly.
I'm not trying
but
to like. I'm not trying to like. clue
The
man is
people in,
super.
like, Joe
point is the
Forrester
man's super
lives
talented.
at 463
he is.
West
He
Lane.
is.
You know, yeah.
He is very talented. Yes. He and Liam Taylor have both been critical in helping all the game development stuff get done, because I have been so inundated by the business side of it that I just don't have the time I did in the past to give it my 100% attention. So they have helped me tremendously in kind of navigating that ship into port. So be sure to give them a thank you for that, because they've done a great job. We're not totally done yet, but the book is just about the main rule book is just about ready to go to editing, which is, just because we added some extra little bits. The forces have changed, the timeline changes, but the rules are the same. We did tweak artillery rules one last time to something that we think is a lot better. It still keeps the general premise. It just makes a couple small tweaks that go a long way. So that'll be in there as well. You'll hear about that a bit in the future. I think people will like it better. It definitely is. I think you guys may have seen it already, and I shared it around a bit.
I think I did see it. Yeah.
Of course, you saw it and just ignored it. Refused to give me
But I
any
think we
feedback.
play
on it.
tested those.
No, I used. I
We
tried it
tried
out.
them.
I tried it out.
Yeah,
with
and you didn't.
Miguel.
And then you didn't tell me. Thanks.
I didn't feel like me and Miguel Vega's one game where I fired one shot of the cannon warranted inclusion in your overall playtest matrix.
You never know.
I'll
Had a
spin it
fleet of
next time.
canoas, right?
Yeah, it's fleet of canoas slowly
Yeah.
boarding my Dutch sloop. Yeah.
Yeah, well, Rufus tells me he cheats, so
Well, he's nice enough, so
Wait,
it doesn't bother me that
Rufus
much.
is saying that Rufus cheats, or Rufus is saying Miguel cheats?
well,
But,
Rufus
Miguel.
is claiming that Miguel Vega cheats. I don't know. I've never played against Miguel Vega. He seems like a nice guy to me, but Rufus is an expert at cheating. So
we
if
just
anybody
ruined
knows a
this
cheater,
man's chance of ever picking up a game against. Everyone's like, I heard online that you.
I'm
cheat."
just trying to help poor poor Tom here, because I know he
Well,
can't win
anybody
any
who
games.
uses-
I know,
Anybody
I
who
know.
uses Rufus as a painter is cheating. Let's say that.
So let me say, let's talk about, like, just give us the rundown, because you kind of touched on a bunch of stuff, like in isolation while chatting about it. But give us the rundown on what's next for. Let's start with Oak and Iron. So, like, what's coming up in the next, between now and New Year's, maybe. Oak and Iron.
So for Oak and Iron, so again, there's the trouble of getting everything made, right? Especially because we got a Kickstarter all tying up all our ability to do more Kickstarters. I don't want to run a Kickstarter while we haven't delivered on a Kickstarter. That would be, I don't know if not only would it be a bad look, but I don't know if I could survive it. Just I'm pretty sure that would just put me out. Like that would be.
So
Like,
here's
I
the
would just-
question then: are you currently well stocked for Oak and Iron? You guys are good
Yes.
to go with that.
Thank God we are. Yeah, we ordered a lot. At the time, it was a questionably large amount of restocks because I was so nervous about everything happening. So
But that turned out to be a good move, which you
it
said.
turned out to be a good move, thankfully. Yes. So now we have that's kind of like our security blanket. I feel every time I sell Open Iron, I feel good because I don't have to do anything. I just ship somebody a box. So that feels like it almost feels too easy, right? Compared to what we've done the last few years where, hey, here's this giant order. Like we have Miniature Market that carries only Open Iron. And every time they make an order, it's great. We turn it around in like 45 minutes. It's out the door, It's just throw a bunch of boxes in a bigger box and send them away.
Well, I'm glad you're not doing like what Catalyst seems to be doing, which is like, we're going to order the scant minimum for a reorder, and then they sell out within minutes of it hitting the store again.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with that. I think they're perhaps getting reaccustomed to success. I wish, I wish I knew what it felt like on their level, but I would like to have their problems.
When they put out that email saying like, we did this many of this reorder and this many of that reorder, I was looking at the numbers. I'm like, I feel like these should be higher.
Yeah,
like I'm no expert, but like
it's it's to know this side of it. It's very difficult because when you see those numbers and they start adding up and you get those bills, it's scary. You're like, well, that's like my operating budget for 18 years. So. Hopefully I sell some of this stuff, So, it's because that's the trick about buying these plastics and stuff from China is that it's a really big upfront cost, but then after that it's really easy, and once you sell the amount you need to cover yourself, then it's all profit from there, and it works well, But you need to have enough movement on a game system for it to really work, and like in the case of Catalyst, for a long time. BattleTech wasn't really a super hot seller outside of like source books and fiction, So, or I don't really know the exact numbers, but the minis were licensed. They weren't theirs. They were doing the starter sets, which I think they were treating as a lost leader or something. I don't really know, but yeah, it's just a tough time in general. So, and I'm sure there's a lot of uncertainty on their end on what the heck is happening. I know there is on everyone's end.
You, because we don't need to give Catalyst all this free PR.
Well, I'm friends with some of those guys, so it's okay.
We like their minis. We got their stuff. All right, so Blood and Valor. What's Rufus's new book called, and what's the plan for when it comes out?
Well, let's finish up with Open Iron real quick, right? So I can talk to you a little bit about. So right now, the sculpts that we have done. I think this is the first time it's going out. The whole list is going out there. We've got a galleon. So if you got a starter set, you have a light galleon. This is the full galleon, not light. And it's basically about the size of the first rate. Has a lot less guns.
Wow!
But it's huge. And then we also have the Urka, and the Urka is essentially a very large flute. And it's a flute about the size of a third rate, more or less. And then we also have, and a fun fact about those two ships is they are not rated as ships of the line. So that means if you like playing pirates, it gives you some options to play much bigger games.
So are we thinking like the Walrus for the galleon, or would that be more like the Urka?
It'd be more like the Urka. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So the Urka really would probably be the best representation of the Urka, but the galleon's comparable as well. But these are not warships. These are very large merchantmen. They're essentially treasure fleet ships. So that's the point of these. There's also a merchantman, which is essentially just yet again another flavor of frigate. It's very similar to 6th rate in size and in performance, but slightly different. Then we have a 5th rate galley frigate, which is going to feature the galley special rule. So it'll be the first ship that can operate very efficiently under oars. And then we have a ship that doesn't really have a name yet, because I'm not really sure what to name it, but it might just be like a light 4th rate. It's just another 4th rate option. And then we have an English 3rd rate, which is just another 3rd rate, but it is just sculpted, a different sculpt. The one we have presently is more of a French design, and this one will be an English design. And that's going to be part of the pack that comes with multiple third rates. So all these things, with the exception of the pack of third rates and and basically the treasure fleet box that we're working on, it's just a box of 3 ships that would be in a treasure fleet, right? And the third rate box would be 3 third rates, all at least 2 different sculpts in that box, depending on how it all pans out and fits in all the molds and such. But there's also the campaign system that if you played during the pandemic, if you played in our Oak and Iron campaign, Nate Zettel designed that, the same guy who did our campaign system for No Peace. This is a very different campaign from No Peace because this one's more about, basically fleet combat and stuff like that. So it's not so much building your character as much as it is winning the war at sea. And if you've played in the campaign, that we played a light version of it, like a limited version. So that is ready to go. So that these are all the things that are coming in what is likely going to be an Oak and Iron Kickstarter, hopefully sometime next year. And we've got a rules update that's going to probably happen toward the end of the year. Very small, nothing significant, but you'll see something like that. We are exploring the option of making Oak and Iron ships available in a different material, and resin to be specific, to be able to buy them individually. So that is something that we're looking into because we have a lot of requests for that, but it is not feasible to do it in the way we make them now. It just doesn't work. So we're trying to see how we could do that in a way that is consistent with what we already have and isn't going to break the bank for us or you. So, yeah, I think that's about it for Oak and Iron. I had a lot of the design work for all those ships and stuff done way back in 2019 with the idea of regular releases for Oak and Iron because we had grandiose plans for 2020, and that was a good year to make big plans for. So they all worked out exactly as we expected.
So these singles, are we thinking more like similar to the Warlord Black Sail? What, I don't remember the
game that shall not be named.
Yeah, whatever it is. The Warlord thing where like it's a resin hull and like
no
metal.
We're not going to put metal rigging because we care about our customers. We don't want to. We don't want you to go. We don't want you to go. We don't want you to go through that. But yeah, we would definitely not. So what we would do is we would be able to we may or may not be able to create the masks themselves in resin. I'm basically getting some casts made from some people who do the work and see what they look like, put them together, see how durable they are, throw them around in my car for a bit, leave them in the sun, that kind of thing, and just kind of see how I feel about it. There is a possibility that we could do just the hulls and then order the rigging and the other bits from our factory because we wouldn't have to freight them. We could just ship them. It would be very expensive, but it wouldn't be prohibitively expensive. But it would limit the types of ships that we could do this way. So instead of the whole catalog, it might be just like a handful. Like it'll probably be the ships of the line or something, like third rates or something. Something along those lines. But that's the idea. Any questions on Oak and Iron before we move on?
No, I don't think so.
I'm good.
Okay.
You gave us a lot. We took notes.
Good.
So,
yeah.
That's pretty much where that stands right now. So like everything else, we've got a lot of work done, but just no real way to bring it up right now. So, we even thought about doing Oak and Iron and metal at one point. We're like, it's really not the sails, but the holes. We thought maybe it's not that bad, but especially now, we just done it. It's not even a consideration at this point. But
well, I think So we already touched on Blood and Valor in essentially saying that Rufus has the next book coming someday, right?
And we
Yeah,
teased it.
and we will have it. I suspect that we'll have it up for pre-order or Firestarter or something. I want a Firestarter just to try Firestarting a book because it's a much bigger budget item. Just as an experiment. I like experimenting on Rufus, so he's a good guinea pig. So we'll but I don't think we're gonna end up doing that. I think we're just gonna put it up on pre-order and make an order after that, and then get it in by the end of the year, hopefully. But we'll see. It just depends on how quickly he can get it done at this point. So it's coming together pretty well. It's looking really good. I mean, there's so many lists in there, and the armor
What
car
is the
rules
working title for that?
End of Empires, I think. Actually, how can I forget? There's a cover for it on the Facebook page.
So just to
Right,
kind
there
of laugh
is.
about something that like people that are listening can't hear or see, well, they can't see it at all. So like Tyler's like taking notes and stuff on all the stuff that Mike is spilling the beans on. The only notes that I've written down is I have a pad in front of me, and from earlier I just wrote buy things. Um, when Mike said, "Oh, if you want medals and stuff, you should buy this, you should buy that," I literally wrote down "buy things" like it was something that I needed to remind myself of. So I'm grateful that Tyler is actually making notes for us for later. But
That's something I want to talk about. So we've covered Oak and Iron, we've covered Blood and Valor. We have marked here for Blood and Plunder, which has been most of the runtime. I was talking about Blood and Plunder because obviously it's Mike's favorite child. I don't want people to doom and gloom if it's not necessary. You mentioned in like real brief passing exactly what Tom just said about
buy things.
want
Yeah.
medals,
No, well,
buy
listen.
things.
And what I mean by that is not that those models will be gone, but if another medium comes up,
Okay.
that works, that could replace those sculpts, we're probably gonna take it. I'm not just gonna jump on the first thing that comes up, but we have sent a few things out, same with Oak and Iron, to see some samples, see how things look, and try some different things, some new things, some outside the box things, just to see what happens.
So would they be new sculpts, or would it be
No, it would be the same
current
sculpts.
sculpt
Yeah.
in like a resin or a new
Well,
plastic or something?
To be
You
fair,
could
it'd be
injection
both.
mold or-
To be fair,
Okay.
it'd be both. What we would do is we'd slowly convert the line over, to whatever we change it to. So no models that are out now would be discontinued, with the possible exception of the Cavalry, which I've already stated before
Right.
everything. But before all this stuff went
What?
nuts. But yeah, because it's just metal Cavalry is just ridiculous, especially right now.
We know.
But but
We all know.
yeah, so if we go into another medium, then maybe those will stick around. So but we're not gonna, it's not like we're gonna abandon those sculpts or anything. And even if we didn't really find anything that worked, then we're like, we just need to stick with metal, the downside to that would be a price hike on metal again, to reflect the potential of metal skyrocketing, because if metal goes up any more than it is now, we're forced to buy. If it went up now, we'd have to do a price raise. There's just no way around it because it's just so high. I mean, it's something I obviously try to avoid as much as I possibly can. But there's only so much you could do. It would be stupid to put myself out of business because I don't want to have people paying more. Obviously, I think people would prefer us sticking around, but it's just frustrating to be in that position. So I have a love-hate relationship with all metal models right now.
Well, speaking of metal models, you guys did just successfully put out the your first
The
like
Buccaneer
female line, the new models that a bunch of people have been painting up. I got my order. I think you guys got yours.
They came out great.
Mm-hmm. They did come out great. Yeah. Did you like those are a solid line? They worked out, and you're going to be able to keep producing those. I believe.
Yeah. So
same metal problems as the rest.
Yeah.
Sorta.
Yeah. The problem was the big price jump hit me just as I had already put that thing out there. I was like, oh, shoot. Like, of course. That could potentially have put a break on. I mean, literally, I'm talking days difference from when we put it up. Then all of a sudden, I was like, all right, cool. Let's start ordering. We're gonna anytime we have a new unit, we got to order a bunch of metal and keep things up. And then I got the price, and the price is less then than it is right now. But it was still enough to make me stop and go, wow, that can't be right. Like, and then I called around a few other people that I know are still working on metal, like the guy Sean. I reached out to Sean Sutter, who does Relic Blade, and a couple other people. My mold maker, who's Dark Platypus Studios. Everybody was like, "Oh yeah, man, it's basically they one of the guys he said, I priced all my metals assuming that maybe one day metal could hit the astronomical price of like $20 a pound, right? I mean, no, sorry, $16 a pound, and it is significantly higher than $16 a pound right now. So, I mean, it's not like it's secret information, but you could go find out. I think when I last looked, Peter was about 1990 something a pound.
Good Lord.
And just to put that in perspective, when we started Firelock, it was about $865. So that's just such a meteoric rise in cost that it's just, it's just crazy.
Well, we would all rather you stay in business. Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
We understand that if the cost of your materials goes up, then it gets.
But the obnoxious thing is we just raised prices to reflect this, right? Like we just put our prices up because the price was going up pretty steadily for the last few years, right? Like since COVID, like I think around COVID times, I think we got to a point where it was like $14 or something like that, and I was like, man, that's super duper high. Like, man, crazy. And and then it hit a point where something happened. There was some I believe it's some kind of manipulation or something. I don't really have the whole story, but something happened in Southeast Asia somewhere where some mines and stuff where a lot of the stuff comes from just have been totally shut down. They're just not operating, and it's created this problem. And the good thing is that this is not one of those things where the price will just be high forever. Now, I mean, it should eventually come back down, but what this whole situation has taught me is that I don't ever want to be in this position again. So you got to price based on, because metal is something that fluctuates so much. You got to kind of price based on what could happen, right? Which is what I don't like about it right now. So if I could find a good alternative, I'd like to do that so we can keep pricing consistent and not really have to worry about it. It works. It just works better for everyone.
So we're gonna end on a higher note in terms of like up and coming stuff, and ask you about Frontiers. If you want to talk about that.
Yeah, of course. So Frontiers is unfortunately the work on it's very close to done. The combat system is there, like the game. And I think I've talked about it before. The cool thing is that you don't have to really change a lot. Like your existing stats for Blood and Plunder stuff works in Frontiers, which is super convenient if you already play Blood and Plunder. Or if you're thinking about playing Blood and Plunder and want to dip your toe in the water. The significant missing piece is I have rules for the naval aspect, but I have not actually played them. So I have to try it and make sure it all works and clean it up and, all that fun stuff. But I just don't have time for that right now. There's enough. And we have enough stuff. And we have so many cool projects in the works right now that there's just no room in the budget to in the time budget specifically to squeeze it in right now, because there's so many other projects being worked on actively, right? Like the RPGs and there's also a few published books that we're going to publish. More than likely, one will be announced pretty soon because they're almost done. That one is called Blood and Steel, and it's essentially 19th century, mid to late 19th century colonial skirmishes. Right. So if you want to do some British on Zulus, some Mambises in Cuba. All or anything of that nature. Spanish-American War, Civil War, the rule system. So it's gone from like Blood and Plunder to Blood and Valor, and then it's kind of like took the Blood and Valor and went to the next step with it. They have a different initiative mechanic, but it's again a bidding sort of process, just like the other ones are, but totally different. It uses dice as opposed to that you roll at the start of a turn. And I don't want to give away a whole lot because it's not. I'm not working on it, so I don't want to just give it away without the blessing of the authors. But it's got a lot of really cool stuff. And then there's a couple others that are in the works. There's one among us in the midst here who has a project that seems to have stagnated a little bit, but a little bit.
I'm not sure which of us you're talking about, to be honest.
Yeah, that's okay. I'll figure it out. But but there's another one for 100 Years War, Blood and Crowns that has that probably should have been out in 2020, honestly, but pandemic, has affected that author, and he's had to deal with real life work and other non-fun things.
I have play tested his very, very early release of that when it was still a Word document using some of my old GW Bretonians.
Mhm.
He's put that game out.
Oh yeah, it's coming. Don't worry.
That is so awesome.
Yeah, the my favorite part of it is the naval. It's just such a different sort of naval skirmish. If you like the blood,
the naval stuff.
Yeah, I don't know if that was in the original version, but yeah, the naval part is really cool. It's a lot simpler than Blood and Plunder because there's not a lot of, you're not going to blow up another ship with cannons. There's not a thing in this game, in this period.
Wars.
Yeah.
Are we talking cogs?
Yeah. Cogs and
nice.
Yeah, that's stuff. It's super. I mean, it's super cool. It's gonna be. I think it's gonna be huge when it hits. So, but we got a few things like that are cooking as well. Obviously, in that same vein is the Blood and Valor stuff. So there's a lot of stuff in the works, and I've been teasing Frontiers for a while. But it's kind of moved its way towards sort of the back of the line, but it is still a will come sooner than later thing. I think there is a possibility it'll come out late 2022 at this point.
I know a bunch of people are excited about it. I can tell you that.
I'm sure because it's not something that's been done properly. I don't think. There's so many cool small skirmishes like that just happen everywhere, and there's so many movies and things that are associated with that it's a crime that hasn't been covered properly.
Well, I think a lot of us are also thinking like a Blood and Plunder Mordheim.
Oh, that's exactly
that's what I have in my brain.
That's what it is. I mean, that's basically what it is. That's
great. I can't wait to find some Warpstone.
Yeah. The difference is it's not connected to a particular setting and event like that, unless you want to consider the colonization of the Americas, that single event. But it's very much in the vein of like the Revenant and Last of the Mohicans, Treasure Island, even to a degree, those sorts of things. It's very much in that vein. So,
no, I'm excited to try this when we get a chance.
I can run it for you guys at HistoricCon, so you can see where it's at.
Okay. There you go.
Yeah.
There's our Thursday event that Tom will be at.
That I won't be at. Let me zoom in or whatever. hold my phone over it like a FaceTime.
Well, if Tom's not gonna be there, then we can definitely do it. Because then I'm not the.
Thanks, Mike.
It'll be like every paint night. Mike shows up, Tom's gone.
Mike comes
We're gonna be running it really late. It'll probably be back in one of the rooms. It'll be like 10 o'clock, and that's well past your bedtime.
That's
all
true.
right. So speaking of paint night myths,
go ahead. Sorry, go ahead. No, I was gonna say it's nothing personal. It's just that I know you're gonna lose, so it doesn't give me a lot of valuable playtest insight. So.
Yeah, that's fair.
Wow,
that's a fair criticism. Oh, man, all right. Well, I was gonna say, speaking of paint projects completed and failed, in the interest of trying to keep this to the time that I know I can get it uploaded, and so Mitch doesn't yell at me when I try to edit this properly myself. We're gonna jump into the bets that were made last month. We're gonna pay the price if we didn't complete those, and then we're gonna throw out our trivia question and announce the winners. So Glenn, do you want to walk us through what your bet was last time?
Yeah, I had a choice, and I chose to do my own bet that I presented myself, which was finish my Canadian militia that's been sitting there, and finish my oak and iron ships that needed to get done, and paint 8 Dutch minis from the start. And I had the Canadian militia and ships done on time, but I did not get the Dutch minis finished until today. So I missed the deadline window.
And the penalty will be
The penalty was that I'm going to provide a ship as prize support for the
Ooh.
trivia challenge this month. So I'm not fancy like Guy Rourke, nor am I running a worldwide global campaign to do this. So it's not going to be painted. It's going to become in a Firelock box. I opened it to make sure all the components were there. So whoever gets it will have a sloop with all the stuff. But one brand new sloop, if you can answer a trivia question correctly, and then win the die roll.
Other than the Oak and Iron starter box that we gave away, this is one of the bigger ones we've given away. So
with the new pricing schedule, I think it might rival the Oak and Iron starter box for value.
Right.
What is Sloops down at, Mike? 70-ish?
Yeah,
60-ish?
69.
Oh, so it
Yeah.
is the same as the starter box.
It's the same.
Yep. Tie.
It's a tie. All right, so you're giving away a sloop.
Yep, we're giving away a sloop this time.
Not
But
this
more
time.
on that later.
Next time. More on that later. Okay. So this time, Glenn, have you planned ahead?
Oh, yeah, I did a little bit. So my challenge to myself would be paint the Blood and Valor French starter. However, Tom's challenge to me is, do you want to read that off?
Yeah, I'll read this. All right. So I've thought about this carefully, and I'm trying to think of a way to get us both.
I think we should
kicking around
preface
again.
this with
Okay.
Tom and I are often in communication, and it consists of a lot of, do you want to play MechWarrior tonight?
And yeah,
Which
and it
does not result in painted minis.
no, it doesn't. I like to be fair. Like, it's harder for me to motivate myself when there's not something coming up. Like, there's always, if there's a con or an event that's getting close, and I know I have to have something painted for it, then I'm like, oh, okay, then it'll kick me in gear. I need a deadline like that. And I haven't had one until Historicon slowly approaches, in mid-November. So, I need somebody to help motivate me. So here's my challenge to Glenn, which he can choose to accept or he can choose to keep his Blood and Valor French starter. Okay. Glenn has to paint with me on Discord at least 3 times this month. And these can't be during the paint nights that we run every other week.
In my defense, you didn't make any paint nights last month.
No, I failed. No, because school is the worst, and I was put on a strategic planning team where we spent 3 days figuring out what our mission statement was going to be. So keep in mind, I would much rather be painting ships or building a fort, but instead I talked about what the definition of the word is,
Good.
and
That sounds
what
fun.
some synonyms are for engagement. So Tom's challenge is painting Tom on Discord at least 3 times outside of paint nights, but with the add-on here, Tom is responsible to accept an invitation to paint if it is offered at least a day in advance. Okay, and so this way, like if he asks me 24 hours in advance and I flake out on him, then it counts for him as a win, because otherwise I'd be able to force him to lose by just being a lazy tool, and that's not fair. So we need like a release valve there. So also, if Tom is playing games online instead of painting when Glenn offers to paint, that counts as like a double win for Glenn. So if I'm stupid enough to get on MechWarrior where he can see me playing it and not painting the things that I've promised to paint, then there's a consequence for me. So I don't know. I feel like you're gonna pick my challenge, but maybe I'm wrong.
I gotta say though, well, I give Glenn a moment to think about his decision.
Yeah.
I feel like this was like an elaborate trap that you set up to try to catch Glenn in, and then you ended up catching yourself in it.
Yeah.
And you both
Honestly,
kind of fell
sounds like
into
a
it.
challenge for both of you.
It's yeah.
I feel like
I'm
this
really
is your
good at
way. I feel like this is your way trying to get yourself out of the trap that you fell into that you set to trip up Glenn in the first place, so that you could
That's-
win the previous challenge. This
that
all
is the
seems
plan.
very elaborate. Yeah, yeah.
That
So,
is the
I
plan.
like it.
That's the
Trap
plan all along.
inception.
Yeah.
It's an Inception style trap. It's an
Yeah.
Inception style trap.
Oh, I thought you had a penalty thought of for this for some reason.
No, I purposely didn't give you a penalty. Oh no, I did.
No Mech Warrior for a month.
Ooh.
I thought I had. Oh,
a lot of pain in that.
I have my punishment picked for myself.
You know what? I'll paint you a mech lance.
Ooh, okay, all right, sure.
I realize it's not blood and plunder related, but we're honestly running out of blood and plunder related penalties to throw at each other.
Yeah, we're taking a beating here. All right, so you're gonna
Yeah.
paint me a lance. All right, so while he's typing that in the notes, so we don't forget, my goal last time was I took
And-
Glenn's challenge.
Sorry, I don't
in-
think I announced it. I'm taking Tom's challenge. I
Okay,
think it's
sweet.
going to be amusing.
This is gonna be a lot of fun. So yeah,
And I have my challenge to myself is to paint the Blood and Valor French starter. I need to paint at least 26 French minis, and I think I actually have 34 or more, like ready to go, or that 34 or more French models that I'm just gonna try and do in one giant batch. So I know I have some painting to do this month.
well, all right. Challenge
There you go.
accepted.
Sounds good.
So Tom's goal last time was, in my hubris, I thought that I would have more time in September than I did, which I really should have known better as a teacher who's teaching during a pandemic for the second year in a row. So I accepted Glenn's challenge to build him a table worthy of a tournament, which was supposed to include 3 buildings, a road, and 4 scatter pieces of terrain. I failed this so hard that it's difficult to really put it into words. I was working on a fortification. I'm planning on building walls because I got a foam cutter, which I had some fun with on the paint night that I was on for a really brief period of time. But I did get all the bricks done. I just need to build the floor of it. So I didn't make any progress. I'm just way too slow. So my penalty, since I failed, is that I have to build Glenn a pier, which I can do while I'm getting roped into my Inception style challenge that I've given.
1-1 scale pier, right?
Yeah, I have to build him a real pier for his farm, but I'll also build him a smaller scale one that I can give him at Historicon, because that's the plan. So my goal this time is much more modest because I have not really succeeded at any of these things. I want to finish my in-progress coastal fortification, which I still have a number of steps left to do, and it's the first time that I've ever constructed this kind of a foam thing. And so I'll post pictures of it when I'm done, but I'm going to finish the coastal fortification. So Glenn, do you have a challenge for me?
It's almost just a restatement of last time. Finish your 4 pieces of scatter terrain. I still need tables for tournament.
Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to take your challenge. I'm just going to finish my coastal fortification, but I know for the sake of the tournaments we're running at Historicon that I need to build more scatter terrain. I have the frameworks of them all done. I just haven't put the putty on them and sealed them. Because like once I get them past a certain point, they will finish up quickly. Because I don't just have 4 pieces of them framed out. I have, I think, 45 of them ready. So
That's a
like
little extra.
I tend to build stuff on an industrial scale. It's part of the reason that it doesn't get done. Like
I mean, it's
those,
good.
yeah, like those treasure
we
chests
need
I
it.
made. I gave away those treasure chests and mailed them out to folks all over the country for the campaign. And I built 30 of them at a time. That's why I was able to send out, sets of 3 or sets of 2, to give them away as prizes. And I still have a couple of them left. I have some for you guys, basically. I have some for Glenn. I have one for Mike, because that's actually a New Year's resolution. So Mike's is done. And Yeah, so I have all the hills ready. They're cut sculpted foam sealed to bases that have been cut and sanded. I just need to use like patch and prime and putty to smooth out the edges and then add grit and stuff for texture. Which it's like the messiest part, and it's difficult to do without um, open windows, and the weather's getting nice, so I can do that, and I can vent the room properly without dying of fumes trying to complete a challenge to build a foam palace. So I'm going to stick with what I got, with the knowledge that I am going to be working on the thing that Glenn suggests. My penalty, if I fail, is I'm going to bring Glenn a cool flag of his choice for a Blood and Plunder faction when I come to Historicon. So that could mean a giant 7x5 pirate flag. It could mean a British, a French, or a Dutch flag. But I'll let him pick. And I have a flag guy. So I collect
Nice.
flags. I'm going to get you a cool flag.
Nice. I'm kind of leaning towards Dutch, but at the same time, there's a lot out there that I would also be interested in probably. So, but I do endorse building lots of terrain because I purchased something stupid like 300 palm trees from China to make lots of palm tree scatter terrain, and I think it ultimately is enough to do about 2.5 tables.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, they go fast. I did the same thing you did.
Mhm.
I thought that they would
because
stretch farther than they did.
I used like a 2-inch round, or like roughly a 40mm base, something like that, and I would just put 2 or 3 trees on it because that's they grow in groups, and
Sometimes.
well, I'm not talking about manicured Floridian lawns.
He's got his beautiful pieces.
Yeah, of course. No, well, it just depends on. I've seen lots of palms growing on their own. So that, but it's okay. You could. I mean, they look good in groups.
Yeah. So, anyways, the point is that like you go through them really fast, and then all of a sudden you're in need of a lot more palm trees and scatter terrain because when you're putting on a tournament, you need to have tables for everybody.
Also, did believe that like the aquarium stuff that I bought would have stretched farther. Like I bought a ton of aquarium plants to add as supplemental to the palm trees, and I was like, oh wow, I went through these so fast. Little grasses and different shrubs because I wanted to have different variety of the leaves and things, in addition to the phlox and stuff that I got. Like my big plan for Historicon, other than buying stuff at the booth for Mike while working at the booth and then buying more stuff at the booth, is to get a bunch of like I need a ton of terrain and flock pieces because I'm going to be building more and more foam related stuff. I
Wait.
want to build a waterfall. That's like a big ambition of mine.
I know Tyler, Tom, and I privately have ridiculed Amazon's idea to do factory towns, but Mike, have you considered a factory town?
Well, I can assure you, you that I am
brutal.
in the wrong place in the country to do a factory town.
Oh man, oh man.
It's like, why not start a factory town in Los Angeles or New York City? It's basically at that level. So there's a newspaper article here talking about how our property value is apparently higher than LA's now, which I don't think is true, but we're not far behind. We're not far
Well,
behind anymore.
newspapers are allowed to be wrong.
Are they?
And you have enough quartermasters that would probably be willing to work in that town. I feel like Nigel is moving down there relatively soon.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah, but they're all
having a
going to
house built near
Central
you.
Florida. That's where nobody, not a lot of people are coming to Miami from, California and New York. That's about it. All along my neighborhood is a bunch of California license plates now.
Ugh. I'm sorry.
Well, we'll keep sending you people from New York as long as you keep taking them.
Wait, there's an opt. Can we opt out of that? Is that a
No,
choice?
no, there's no way out.
I didn't
Oh,
think so.
actually-
Yeah.
On second thought, Mike, I take that back. Much like your escape from Cuba, we should probably be cheering those folks who managed to escape California.
I was gonna say Mike's on the Florida Georgia line, like build a wall. Build a wall.
I will say this for Floridians because like my wife and I do like to do cruises. We haven't done one in a long time, but we sailed out of New York and we sailed out of Florida, and when we sailed out of Florida, we were kind of like we're confused because everybody was really happy, and everybody was much nicer than when we sailed out of New York. Like in New York, like I kept having this fat guy cut me in the omelet line, and I was like, "Why are you like? There's enough omelets for everybody. Why are you so mad?" Like, but in Florida, all the Floridians getting on the cruise were just happy to be there. So they were a much more happy bunch, I guess. I don't know. I guess all New Yorkers are angry. I'm angry right now, and I don't even know what I'm angry about. So,
Probably about losing all those challenges.
yeah, I've been man. Oh, and one more update. I guess if I do work in your booth, if you want, I can wear my outfit because I have the
Of
shirt and the
course.
pants at this point. I just
you
need a
have to.
helmet and some armor.
You can
I
keep
have
it
a
up,
helmet.
Tom.
You have a helmet.
I have a Morian I can bring you. It's a little rusty, it's got some sharp
sweet.
edges, but don't worry about it.
No, that's what I need. So if you have
Yeah.
that, I already have. Then I have basically the whole thing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's sweet. Okay, that's a huge help. I was gonna try to make one out of cardboard and like spray paint it metal, but yours will be better. So yeah, I'll wear it the whole time I'm doing demos in your booth.
I would
Excellent.
bring your own backup, not solid steel Morian, Tom, because you're going to be sweating
Why?
buckets after wearing
No.
that for 10 minutes.
He'll be fine. He's from New York.
Why
He's
would
used to it.
they have worn it if it wasn't an ergonomic, perfect design? I feel like they would have warned me about that. Anyway, all right. So let's get into the trivia question and give away a prize. And
Time for
then
blood
we'll-
pedantry?
Yeah, blood and pedantry. All right. So since Tyler was the asker of this question, let's have Tyler read the last time on Tales of the Sail.
Yeah, so last time on Tales of the Sail, the prize that we were offering was 2 blisters of the European Sailor Musketeers and 1 super official No Dice No Glory Tales of the Sail exclusive. We give it away all the time. Cannon Crew. The question that we had is, in the mid-17th century, the English Royal Navy made use of a careening wharf at Port Royal, Jamaica. In 1675, Port Royal became a somewhat official station when a British officer was appointed to oversee the docks there. However, after the 1692 earthquake sank Port Royal into the sea, the naval station was moved to this Jamaican city and would not return to Port Royal until 1735. The answer for this one, and I did pull this one off Wikipedia, but the answer for this one is Port Antonio. I think this might be one of the harder questions we've ever asked you guys. Based
Which
on
was
the
not the intent.
responses.
It's not
We-
the
Yeah.
We knocked out about 70% of the responses on this one.
Mhm.
So
I
if
thought,
you
I
made
thought
it,
it was easy.
yeah, if you made it into our pool of people that are eligible here, then you're in rare company because you got knocked out by most of the regulars. So
I want to note, this is the first time Brian Reed got an answer wrong.
I will take that as a personal point of pride.
Brian Reed.
Broke the streak.
So the 6 winners, the 6 people that we had come in, and we'll roll for a winner here, are Nate Brown, Garrett Swader, Andy Randolph, QC. We're gonna have to ask you a name if you pull this one. And we had Evan Botkin and Josh Shivik. So who
Well
is
done.
doing the dice rolling?
I got you covered.
Mike. Oh, I was going to say, Mike, do you have a
Oh,
D6
Oh,
nearby?
yeah, Mike do it. Yeah, Mike, get a D6.
Of course.
You roll it in your room.
Of course. I gotta find one. It should be right over here. Let me see. There you go. D6. All right. We got a 1. Of course, that's when you ask me to roll D6, that's what you're gonna get.
So that is Nate Brown.
Congratulations, Nate. All right, so we will reach out to Nate and we will get your 2 European Sailor Musketeers and a Cannon Crew in the mail.
I never thought my poor rolling could help someone, other than my opponent, of course. But
Okay,
there was a bad roll in the lot.
I'll need to order more Cannon Crew. I actually want to get some painted up someday, but I keep mailing them to people instead.
So Glenn,
As the Dutch person for the campaign, every time somebody won something and they got like additional prize support from me, it always involved Cannon Crew as the official Tales of the Sail.
I would
Unit
explain why I'm
endorsement.
always running out of those. They're just flooding. You're flooding the market.
right? You can never have enough Cannon Crew. So Glenn, since you're giving away a sloop, you get
And
to be the one who and you found this question. So
now I have a question, but we did offer to cede the floor to Mike if he has a question.
does Mike
Sorry,
have a question?
I just realized I was muted back, so I was coughing. Anyway, I was going to try to find something super hard, and then I forgot. So
Okay.
Okay.
we're
All right,
gonna go to yours. So.
Mine
for it.
sounds hard, but it should be relatively easy to find. Okay, normal rules. Email Tales of the Sale. That's TALES of the SAIL at gmail.com before the end of the month, which this month is October, when we record to be eligible for a prize. Essentially, if you can get it in before the next time we record, even if it's like November 2nd, whatever. We don't know when we're recording, though, so get it by October.
We will post a reminder when it gets close. And
Yes.
That usually brings in a flood of people who remember, oh, yeah, I want to make sure And this is a ship. This is a whole ship, guys. So
Yeah, you can get a
it's a
$70
big deal. $70 ship.
one entire sloop, the probably most ubiquitous ship in Blood and Plunder at the moment.
It's true.
All
Definitely
right.
our bestseller.
All
Ask
right,
away.
for the simple answer of, though not originally attributed to Blackbeard, in what year was his flag featuring a horned skeleton holding an hourglass in one hand and pointing a spear toward a bleeding heart in the other first described in print?
And read it one more time.
Ooh.
So,
I think I know the answer to this one too.
though not originally attributed to Blackbeard, in what
Mhm.
year was his flag featuring a horned skeleton holding an hourglass in one hand and pointing a spear toward a bleeding heart in the other first described in print? I only need the year, but if you want to add the publication, you can.
Okay. So tales of the
Oh,
sale
I
at
may have accidentally
gmail.com.
just given a hint. Oops.
Oh, no.
Mhm.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I almost did it. I may be wrong too. So, but
Well, if you were looking at the show notes, you'd know.
yes, that's
See,
true.
the answer's there if you want to check yourself, Mike.
Or maybe I
Um,
did. Or maybe I did look at the show notes. And I'm
maybe
just trying to look like I know what I'm talking about.
All right. So, Tyler, why don't you run down the list of upcoming events? I'd also say that if you are somebody who is a quartermaster or somebody who's just trying to get the game going anywhere in the U.S. or the world where people listen to us, if you send us a line, we will make sure we read out your event, its dates, and contact stuff at the end of the episodes. So if you have something you want plugged, please call us because we'd love to give you a hand. Give us a ring on the email. All right. So
Ring
Tyler,
on the email.
ring on the email. Not
a new thing.
It's late for me.
Got it, yeah.
I'm starting to turn into a pumpkin. All right. So Tyler, go ahead and read down the list of what we got today.
Upcoming events, we have the Michigan GT that's running October 8th to October 10th. That's run by Josh Shivak. He streams a lot of Oak and Iron. He'll be running a Friday Sea Battle and Demo, Saturday Oak and Iron, Sunday Land Battles, and Blood and Plunder. November 12th through the 14th, we have Du Bois in Rochester, New York. There's Blood and Plunder demos, a treasure scramble scenario, and a 2-day land and sea tournament. As kind of the alternative for those in the far, far northeast to Historicon. Historicon, of course, is running from November 11th to the 14th. We will be running that Iron Man event that we discussed. Thursday is our setup scenario and practice day. Friday is Blood and Plunder in the morning, Blood and Valor in the evening, and Saturday evening will be Oak and Iron.
We should be easy to find. I'll be wearing a conquistador outfit.
Yeah, look for the guy with the sore head. Adam Horton is going to probably be putting together a Secret Santa on the Blood and Plunder Facebook page. He'll have details coming up for that. Keep an eye out. I've done it before. It's actually pretty awesome, and it's a good way to kind of share and get to know other people in the community.
And there's some cool stuff that comes out of that.
Yeah,
Yes.
there is. There really is.
People get very creative with their gifts sometimes.
Yeah.
As far as
Preston,
Blood and
basically.
Plunder. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was saying when you say people, you mean Preston. But yeah, I know you guys try to avoid mentioning him, but
Like,
I'm sure
Super Run
more than just
2.
him.
I know it wasn't just him, but he definitely won the last one.
Yeah.
The Lost Boys Buccaneers were awesome. As far as Blood and Plunder, the Kickstarter, October, the late pledge will be closing for Raise the Black. So the end of
That's
this
right.
month, get them in. We might be getting a shipping announcement in November. I'm not going to hold Mike to that. And it might be on the boat shipped to us January. Also, can't hold anybody to that.
Hoping for the best.
They'll know better by November.
Looking good. I hope I didn't scare anybody too much, but it really is looking good. We should be okay.
I think, Glenn, you had one, I think.
Yes.
Mhm.
So my friend Ollie over in, I think it's actually Turkey, runs Iliada Game Studio. He has recently become a Blood and Plunder convert, and he started designing some additional terrain sets. He makes a lot of stuff out of like a hardboard, like a thick cardstock, and also MDF. And he's been throwing together additional docks, some buildings, things like that. He designed a small ship to be used with Blood and Plunder. It's not Firelock Tournament legal, but if you like MDF stuff and one that's simple and would look good as a scenery piece, that kind of thing, go over and check him out. Just do a Google search for Iliada, Iliada Game Studio, and see what he's got, because he's got great pricing, and he ships pretty quickly, and then it's just up to the international services to get things to and from where they're going.
That's actually just their website is IliadaGamestudio.com.
Oh yeah,
I
always
have
Google it.
pulled up. I'm looking at the buildings. They're really nice.
And a good
for the
value.
Cost, and yeah, for the cost, they look really good, and they'd fit in with really well with the Ports of Plunder stuff. The looks of it.
And if you play BattleTech, he does tons of that stuff too. But
Yeah, he has a bunch of different scales.
oh, he also has a series of fantasy stuff that would work well for D&D, but there's like a tavern and like a hovel and stuff that I also purchased for Blood and Plunder use. So it's not just the stuff that he's just come out with, but there's also a fantasy line that could also work well, depending on what kind of
That's
look you're going for.
the half-timbered stuff, yeah.
Yep.
Well, this episode was supersized. So thanks for joining us, and thanks especially to Mike Tunez for being on. Thanks, Mike, for joining us.
I'm happy to be here. I hope I didn't come across as too scary. I don't want to. It sounds like I made you guys nervous, but I can assure you, as dealing with it every day, we are looking. Firelock's in good shape. Even if the worst were to happen and we have to have a delay, it won't be a huge one. It'd basically just be right. It'd be like Oak and Iron last time. That would be about probably about as bad as it would get.
Please don't ruin your personal finances airmailing this stuff, though. We can wait. We can wait, Mike. Can wait.
We won't do anything that could put us up there. We're not stupid, but we also just want it out as bad as you guys. To believe me, if not more. So it's once it's out. You mean the amount of sleep I get once Kickstarter is delivered and I know it's all done is just. It's like another level. So I'm looking forward to that sleep. I haven't had it in a long time.
That's what I was about to say.
So,
Mike just wants to sleep again.
I just want to sleep
go to
again.
sleep again. It's been 2 years. Well, I'm very much looking forward to seeing you and to seeing everybody at Historicon, to get some games in and to get back to some of the convention stuff that we love to do.
Yeah, man.
Yep.
Well, we'll be there. We'll be at Historicon. So.
Yep. Come find us.
Come find us. Come hang out at Historicon. It's okay, even if you have to wear a mask. It'll be all right. Just come check us out.
All right, Glenn, sign us off, man.
Well, everyone, thanks for coming, as always. And we look forward to getting to talk to you again next month. Have a good one.
Thanks so much for joining the show tonight. Remember to follow us on Twitter at No Dice, No Glory. And keep the conversation going on NoDiceNoGlory.com, now featuring our own message boards. Have a great night, everybody.